Hello and welcome back, viewers. You're watching Newsx and I'm Kriti Mehta. Now, amid the ongoing tension in the Strait of Hormuz, India has successfully brought in critical energy shipments to secure its fuel supplies. 3 Indian-flagged vessels have safely reached Gujarat ports after navigating the volatile waters. The LPG tanker Shivalik arrived on March 6. The next day, the Nanda Devi docked, and on March 18, the crude oil tanker Jaglatki came in. In addition, 7 giant tankers carrying around 4 metric tons of crude, 4 million metric tons of crude oil from Russia are on their way or have been diverted to Indian ports. India has also purchased 176,000 metric tons of LPG from the United States, delivered through approximately 4 tankers. Apart from this, between 26th and 28th of March, 2 more tankers are likely to reach India to secure our energy requirements. These timely arrivals are helping cushion the impact of disruptions in the traditional supply routes and ensuring continued availability of cooking gas and crude for the country's refineries. Let's now take a closer look at the energy imports for India and consignments that have been brought in. We now move on to our plasma screens to take a look at India's energy imports. Ships rescued from the Hormuz, ships that have passed through the Strait of Hormuz. Rather, Shivalik was the first tanker that arrived in India from the Strait of Hormuz. It carried 46,000 metric tons of LPG and was the first one to arrive on March 16. Docked at the Mundra port, of course, carried 46,000 metric tons of LPG. This was the first tanker that arrived. The first crude oil tanker that arrived in India in these days during the conflict was Jaglatki. It carried 80,886 metric ton of crude oil, and this one arrived on March 18th. All right. Then the next tanker that arrived, in fact, let's talk about the consignments that have been brought from Russia as well. We have 4 million metric tons and 7 giant tankers have been brought in from Russia as well. Approximately 4 tankers with 176,000 metric tons. These consignments were also brought in from the United States of America. So, India continuing its purchases from Russia and the United States amidst the conflict, diversifying its import requirements, of course. Let's in fact now go across to our guests who have joined us in the discussion. I'm joined in by Colonel T.P. Tyagi, who is a defense expert with us in the conversation. I also have foreign affairs expert Malika Pandey. And I'll shortly be joined in by senior journalist Gautam Mukherjee as well. I want to come to you first. Colonel Tyagi, thanks very much for joining us. India, like Prime Minister Modi has also said, has strategically diversified its imports, reducing dependence on the Middle East. We are still purchasing from Russia and the United States of America. How critical is this diversification for India during the conflict? And more important than diversifying imports, how important is reducing dependence on other nations and increasing our self-reliance and Atmanirbharta?
We are doing both the things. Firstly, we are diversifying. Earlier, we used to make up our energy requirement from 21 nations. Now we are doing it with 47 nations. And to name a few are America and Russia. And also maybe Canada and Norway may join later. Now this is for the requirement of gas. As far as the requirement of oil is concerned, we have got enough reserve and we are augmenting it. And for oil also, unfortunately, our oil requirement coming from Strait of Hormuz was almost about half of our total requirement. Hence, this problem rose. but we diversified and we have adequate reserves. It could not have been done in case of gases because it is very technical and very difficult to make a reserve of gases, LNG as well as LPG. So that's why there is some problem in gas for which we are taking it from Russia and America. Now think it for a minute. When we go into the details of it, we find that in the earlier days after independence, we did not think of having any reserve or making alternative or things like Atmanirbhar. This has started now and it is paying. Had it not been done, then imagine how critical India would have been because the world's uh, energy which is passing through Strait of Hormuz is about 20%, and for India it is almost half of its requirement. Had there not been adequate reserves and diversification, the situation would have been more than critical. So to some extent, we have taken care of oil as well as kerosene, as well as aviation oil, petroleum oil, lubricants, everything, no problem. For gas, yes, there is a shortage. We are doing diversification. Soon we will be in a position to do it because two more, I have been given to understand that tankers have been allowed through Strait of Hormuz. And I think that Strait of Hormuz should also be open very soon. If there are, and there are people with intelligence and with wisdom in Iran, see, when the war started at that time, there was an opinion in favor of Iran. And now, after the Iran's reaction on the Middle East countries, Iran reaction on Israel, and particularly the Iran's act of closing the Strait of Hormuz, demanding money and telling that it will remain closed for a longer time, and telling that now even Europe is in our reach. These things have alienated. These things have alienated Iran. The world opinion is going against them. Probably they may think and they may make some changes. The starts have already been made because Iran has now said that we are stopping only the enemy's vessel, not the other vessels. They should give us information, take our permission, and go ahead. So it
Okay.
means change has started.
All
Yes.
right. I want to now go to Gautam Mukherjee, who's also in the conversation with us on the phone line. Mr. Mukherjee, thanks very much for joining us. Now, Donald Trump, a statement had come in from Donald Trump and his team that said that he and Iran will jointly control the Strait of Hormuz. How would you react to that?
I would react to it quite favorably because the idea is to get this going as soon as possible. And I think they are talking right now. And since it is something that will be beneficial to the entire Gulf countries as well as Iran, and of course to all the recipients of the oil and gas and fertilizer in our part of the world as well as in Europe and farther afield. So I'm looking forward to this being established as soon as possible.
All right, sure. Thanks very much, Mr. Mukherjee, for joining us. We are, in fact, now going to move on, viewers. Now turning to India's Hormuz ship tracker. 3 vessels have successfully arrived at Indian ports in the last few days, bringing in the much needed LPG and crude oil. 2 more tankers are currently in transit and are expected to reach Indian waters shortly. However, concerns remain as many as 20 Indian-linked ships that are still stranded near the Strait of Hormuz with over 600 crew members on board. These developments come at a time when India is closely monitoring the situation to ensure energy security and the safety of its seafarers. Now, let's take a look